What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We here with another one, with another episode of The Gift is Free Live. Everybody that's on Facebook,
like I usually be,
and
don't get no love.
Might not be able to see your comments, but we are appreciative of everybody that's joined on.
But you can be a testament to that. You clearly see,
yes,
see the comments.
Yes, it stresses me out because I'm always trying to show some love.
But I might have cracked the code, so we might be able to see a couple comments. We might be able to see something. We'll see. You know what I mean? But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got my man Devin Spencer in the house. Towson Catholic graduate.
Oh Lord,
St. Mary's graduate.
Last graduating class too at TC.
The last graduating class at TC.
Shut down after me. Couldn't have nobody else in there.
No, he's not.
I was towards the end of it.
Mellow. And then he merged and all that.
The crazy part was Mountain Road before all of that. I got a picture. Yellow jersey. Father with a red long sleeve on. That's why I met.
Hey, shout out to Big Juan.
Shout out to Juan.
Juan, you know I love you. I love you. All right. Yeah, we ain't gonna go too fast, but first and foremost, man, I always ask the guests when they come on, is how they doing currently. You know what I mean? How you kind of adjusting to the COVID situation? How that 2020 affected you? Did you pick up a new hobby? Was you affected in a great deal by being shut down?
In terms of the COVID situation, man, that was with me. I work at UPS, so it was wild. Like a lot of places was getting shut down, but they wanted our asses at work every day, so we didn't really get to experience any layoff in terms of that. Really, it was different. Like, I mean, y'all know we used to get with the guys and hang and hoop and play cards and things like that, and it wasn't a thing where it's like, oh, I don't trust my homeboy, but it's like, you know, we all got families, so we had to take the precautions. So it was kind of weird. Like even when we started having our first little cookouts or whatever, it's like, all right, hand sanitizer, put your mask on, yeah. So it was kind of wild, but really for the most part, just the kids. I know the kids, that's all that really matters to me in a sense. Of course, they wasn't in school, so yeah. That was about it for the most part.
Okay. Did you pick up any new hobby during the COVID time?
Man, I don't have no hobbies. I ain't got no hobby talking to y'all.
Video games?
Nah, back in the day.
Whoa.
Back in the day, the 2K battles, boy.
We're going to get to the 2K battle.
I took a lot of money from Cheese, too, during the...
got mine back, so I ain't tripping.
Okay. I heard about one of them epic endings, one of them series.
Between me and Queen?
Yeah.
Oh, the Heat and the Knicks, boy.
Wow.
We're
going to get there, though. We're going to get there. We're going to move too fast.
I heard about that.
So, man, yeah, no new hobbies during the COVID. You know what I mean? Me, personally, I got into the biking.
Mm-hmm.
I was biking.
Oh, yeah. Remember, I mean, you was the only one that was on the bikes, but remember we used try to send in our little updates of running and things like that and trying to compete. That was cool though.
Yeah, but you was running though. You was out there running though. Like you was on the field running.
I was bored, man. I was literally bored. I was literally bored. Like it was something. It was something to do, and if you don't, it's gonna show when time come back around. So so it was just something to do for the most part, challenge ourselves, and then us in general hop into we competed heavy with it. We competed heavy with it. I don't think I'd ever seen Queen throw up any kind of miles on no type of running thing, and he was out there. He was out there, and then the young boy Nick LeGill would just diminish everything with like 7 miles. I'm like, man, go sit down.
Yeah, nobody runs 7 miles.
We don't have time for that.
Doing all that crazy stuff, man.
We don't have time for that.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, that was definitely something that we kind of took on and had fun with for the most part.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely was new. So it was kind of good, and it was a little bit restricted, but it was cool. Came out cool, and health wise, we all right. So we good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So first and foremost, man, after we get the natural well being out the way, making sure you good, man. Like you, a special guest, you my man.
Oh, I couldn't wait to get here.
But we gotta do it. We got to do it interview style. I know the answer to a lot of these questions, but I gotta do it interview style. So
You know this thing said 8%, right?
Oh yeah, let me go ahead.
Bro, let me cut it off for you.
Let me throw that
start.
thing on there real quick. Yeah, you're right. Let me throw that on there real quick. I did forget about that. There we go. Yeah. So, let the people know where you from, like kind of where you were born at, and where you kind of came up, like in your early years. Not even, I mean, we're not talking sports right now. Just kind of where you came up and kind of your circumstance where you living as an early youth.
Man, I was really a mutt for real, honestly. I lived on every part of Baltimore you can think about. I've lived there for at least a duration of the time. But I guess if you want to say where you're from, or when you spent the most time, would definitely be, my family has more ties in the Cherry Hill, South Baltimore range. But I spent my middle school and first 2 years of high school at like Randallstown, Owens Mills area. And then after that went back to Cherry Hill. So, but I've lived east. I live east now. I've lived west, and anywhere for some period of time. Even spent some time in DC with my mother for about a year or two back over her.
Like, probably, what was that? Like, probably was this like before, like
early,
like very early.
Like, when it comes to childhood, you always with your mother for a while. And then she realized, it was time for me to. No woman can raise a man. You feel me? So She realized that at an early age, and realized that my father could do things at times that she probably couldn't do at that time because she was working in DC. DC hectic, busy. Yeah. So, but yeah, I lived with her in DC for I would say like a year or two, back and forth. But she predominantly stayed in that DC area. So I went to like preschool out there for you. I hated it. They had like this bell that really pissed me off to this day. To this day, when I hear it, it get me real nervous. But yeah, all over for real. Definitely a mud of Baltimore.
I definitely can relate to that, man. I moved a lot as an adolescent, man. And it was definitely a different experience. Like, you get to meet a lot of different people in that.
It's a good and a bad thing.
Because
you don't really get no foundation. Like I think I went to like four different elementary schools.
Yeah, I went 3 or 4. Yeah.
So
definitely a different
experience. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you came up with any brothers and sisters?
So biologically, bloodline, no. But since I was born, who I call my sister, and we kind of had that relationship. She was always in the household with me, so yeah, I consider her my sister. But other than that, no bloodline, but I got a lot of brothers and sisters. Brothers, I should say, in the Baltimore area. People that I definitely consider family. So there's no secret, when you kind of get in good with me, that's how we roll. That's brothers, anyways. But.
That's a bet. So, what was kind of your first introduction to sports? And was it basketball? Was it any other sport, or what was your first introduction to sports, whether it be playground or whether it be organized or whatever?
So, my mother, she played all types of sports. She played like softball, volleyball, basketball. She played everything. She was the athlete of the family. My father, pretty much growing up, he played a little bit of football, but for the majority, he was basketball. So, but like I said, me growing up under my father, pretty much, I was always in the gym. It was never a gym in Baltimore that you could see him and wouldn't see me, and that's kind of me to the point where we'll walk in gyms today and Kai and Canada run off, and we won't see him until the end of the game, type of thing.
They got their own little crew.
Exactly, and everybody know him. But for my father, he used to play in Towson League out Towson, League out Turner Station, Post Office League. He played in about 3 or 4 leagues with my uncles and things of that sort. And so I always was kind of in the gym. And then on top of that, with him being known in terms of playing basketball and around the area in general, I would take like Fisher Price hoops, put them along the baseline, and everything I see them doing out on the court, I'm doing on the baseline or trying to do. So it was never another sport for me in terms of I thought I would play. We all played football, growing up outside, but I remember then it broke my finger one time playing football. And my father told me if I ever pick up the football again, it's over. So I think that was my last time even playing through up football.
So safe to say your earliest introduction is from you seeing your dad play.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
He was still in a situation where he was playing with you as a kid. So.
Right, without question.
All right, so and you kind of mentioned that you couldn't really even get into football even if you wanted to. So basketball. What was the first time you got on a team? What was your first team? Did you get straight on a team in the neighborhood or?
So my first, I guess, time under any kind of organization basketball wise, excuse me. My father and I lived out in Essex, and I had 2 Fisher-Price rims, and they would put them at the edge of the parking lot. And the kids from the neighborhoods would come out. We'd be playing 5-on-5. I'm 3, 4 years old. You know what I mean? But he started to see it.
3 or 4 years old
at the time with the little orange ball. Having a good little time.
Playing out there in the community, playing structured basketball.
Exactly. Well, that wasn't structured, but
not structured.
Older kids, exactly. Full court, passing the ball to
your team. The concept of the game at 3 or 4 years old.
Well, I think I would say I easily got the concept of the game before that. Yeah. Just watching my father at definitely about 3.
And not to speed up too fast, but it's so funny because I remember when Kyle was born, your firstborn. I remember when he was born, when he was we was doing bench pressing with him. It was natural. The kid was 2 years old. You know what I'm saying? But so
he's gonna be the athlete for sure.
I can believe that.
He's gonna be the athlete for sure.
So continue what you were saying. You was kind of playing in that parking lot range,
and he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me he of course I'm 3, 4 years old, so it's not much he can do, but he wouldn't let me double dribble. He wouldn't let me travel, those type of things. So then my first, I guess, time kind of in a real basketball situation would have been up in Essex at Stimmers Run. I think it was a little elementary and middle school out in that area, and that's where I know a bunch of people from that area. Actually, my man B Green. That's probably where I first met him. Ended up playing with him at TC later on in life, playing for the same AU team. But yeah, that's where it started. And you know how they would put the lower rims and bring the rim down type of thing, but you still had the maiden rim. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't do that for us. Yeah, I mean they wouldn't call travel a double dribble at that age, but we were shooting on the regular rims right out the gate.
Any of the little leagues I ever played in the rim never looked.
Exactly, it really irritates me. It really irritated me with that. Yeah, got you. That probably would have been the only time I'd have done something ever in life.
And you wasn't ducking nothing.
Yeah. I wasn't. Even then, yo. Yeah, even then, I probably would have tried to step back, pull up, yo. Even then, I probably would have tried to pull up. Exactly.
That's crazy though to hear like that. Because I honestly, to be completely honest with you, for me, I love basketball, but I'm telling you, I didn't have a concept of the game until I'm telling you.
Well, you still don't.
Yeah, I mean, I got
you got the concept, but let me get a bucket.
Yeah, I mean, got to figure it out. With the game, sometimes
I think by the time we 40 with elbow pads and shit that, you get it.
I would get mine. That's the circumstance. That's
getmine.com is quick. You should have never named this. Get free.
That's not my fault.
It should have been getmine.com. But okay.
To get the concept of the game 3, 4 years old, man, that's crazy. So you weren't on the team necessarily, but when was the first time you got on an actual team?
So that was a team. That pretty much that was a team. We had jerseys and my father was the coach and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, but then the first time I would, I guess, credit the first time I actually played under the whistle. And this is wild. I mean, I probably told you this once or twice, and back in college days, but you probably don't remember. Was for Coach Wise. I grew up playing under Coach Wise, Liberty Rec. But when he started off, he was at Robert C. Marshall. And basically, he I don't know how I think he coached my uncle, and because he coached my uncle, him and my father and Coach Wise kind of already had kind of a little relationship from that experience. So my father trusted him when he brought me to the city because, again, at that age, in essence, it wasn't a whole bunch of talent per se.
Yeah.
And I was doing whatever I wanted at the age of 4 or 5 to kids 6 and 7.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point, my father was like, "All right, well, you know, let's challenge him a little bit. Let's take him into the inner city." And me, I'm 5, I don't really pay attention to it. I don't know no different.
Right.
So my first game under a whistle, what they call them doubles and travels and anything, was I played under Carmelo coach was the coach.
Yeah.
He was exactly. He was there for practice, but Coach Wise had them pretty much kind of like pick up 4 or 5. I mean, like 5 kids and kind of like coach them before their practice, and he was the coach for me. And I had a good game, but they didn't kind of like blow the whistles on travels and double dribbles or whatever. So Coach Wise is like mad when all of those points that you just had don't count. What you mean 5? Like, I'm excited. 3 shots. You know what I mean? I'm having a good time. This is my first time out here. They told me I wasn't gonna be. My father told me, you know, it's gonna be different, and I'm out here doing my thing with them too. You can't tell me nothing, right? So the very next game that I came out there, well, the very next practice per se, I came out there. I was pissed. I didn't want to go back. I did not want to go back because Coach Wise called everything: double dribble, travel, anything, carry. He was calling everything, and I was like, man, no, I want to stay out here in Essex. You know what I mean? They ain't calling that out here. I don't want to go to practice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm out here shy and doing my thing out here, and he telling me that I'm double dribbling. They don't call it when I'm out here with this man tripping. Like, no, I don't want to go back out there to them. My father wouldn't let me. He said, "No, you going back to practice? You'll be there next week. You'll be there next week." And I was there next week, and that was pretty much it. I was with Coach Wise all the way until I started playing for my father, and then I played for Mount Royal for a little phase in between there. But pretty much I was with Coach Wise, and this is when like you got the Easter tournament when it's back in the day, Project Survival. You know what I mean? Where the games was broadcast. You know what I mean? We 7 years old on local television, playing the Easter tournament. Like, it was crazy back then in terms of like the local talent and how they, you know, put it on the stage. But yeah, I was with him probably all the way up till I was like 13 when I started playing for my father.
Cool. That's we'll get there because we're gonna talk a little bit more in depth in that whole situation because 13, 14 is kind of when you start to get it.
Oh yeah, that's
AU and it really started getting gritty.
See, that's crazy though, because it really was gritty before that.
Yeah,
it was gritty. Like I was,
that's why I don't want to skip.
I was 7 playing AU, 9 and under.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to skip that.
Troy Franklin,
right?
Larry Bat, like they was my backcourt.
So,
you know what
I mean?
It was crazy.
So that's elementary school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elementary school, you kind of like, I mean, like you said, like you're going through the ropes of just dealing with the traveling and the double dribbling. But obviously, you out of that by probably like 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Oh yeah, that was put to bed by first.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So like when you get into kind of 4th and 5th grade, and to kind of bring people up to speed in Baltimore basketball is kind of different because by the time you are in 3rd and 4th grade, you already are an established team in the city, or you are like kind of known as a 3rd and 4th grader.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So what was kind of like, what was it like a transition or a process? Did you kind of like have to get better, or did you kind of always mingle with the crowd of players you was playing in once you came to the city with Coach Wise?
When I came into the city, and we like you said, we're gonna get into it throughout the course of the conversation, but
early.
Yeah, my early stage, there wasn't nothing in the city that was kind of like at the level that I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, anybody that can, you know, vouch for that will vouch for it.
Do you know anybody particularly like that you was playing during that time? Like, did you know? Because like, were you friends with any of these people that you was playing?
Not really, because I didn't
know them.
Not really, because I didn't. Well, that and the fact that I wasn't around. Like, only thing I came into town to do and was practice, and that's go to Liberty for practice. Like I said, I'm living in South Baltimore at the time. These guys are East Baltimore, West Baltimore type of thing. Like, nothing really comes out of it. You know, not too many people get mentioned in terms of the area. But Will Barton was like my 1A, 1B pretty much in terms of like when we was on travel teams, we were the better guards on the team. And then, you know, when we were local, it would be Johnny. I mean, Liberty, to be honest with you, we didn't have a whole bunch of talent. like we had good teams and things like that. We were playing some championships here and there, but in terms of like
hold on,
talent,
not to cut you off because you just said it, but you knew Will Barton as in elementary school.
Oh yeah, I've known Will since, since I was about 7.
Yeah, so like that's, I mean, that's that period of time, about third, fourth.
Played for the Stars together. We both played up. Like I said, we played with Troy and Larry, under Larry Bassfield, Coach Dennis. So we kind of was the kids that was like
this advanced.
Yeah, exactly. You know how people play up these days. Yeah. We was kind of those kids that was playing up, and not only was we playing up, we was doing well playing up.
Right.
So if I would say that, I mean, we all know Baltimore. There's plenty of people that's hooping. You know what I mean? Plenty of people that's doing well. But in terms of that age frame, I would think that Will was probably, the other guard in the area at that time frame that they was like, oh, these two kids are pretty good. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, like George, Jack, like it's I could go on and on and on about players in my age. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Josh played with Will. They family and things of that sort. So
Josh,
Selvin, yeah. So it was always talent in there. Got Madison, Liberty, Bentlow, Johnny, like Liberty. It was crazy. It was crazy, right? In Mount Royal, it was crazy around that time frame. So, but again, everybody's just kind of learning the fundamentals of the game, and for us to already have some of that and then be able to excel on that and play with other, we kind of at that age were two of the betters in the area at that time.
That's crazy, man. Like it's wild because it's so many players that's in that bracket that you, like you said, you could name that was so nice, that was, man, early. But we're gonna get there. Now you venture into, you're getting a little bit older, you're getting into middle school. Now, like I said before, people that don't kind of understand the landscape, like I know people talk about New York and they talk about the California, Chicago's and certain places like that, but for Baltimore, the AAU circus, when you get to middle school, is really when you make your name. So
you know what these other states be having? They be actually having like middle school leagues, like with their schools that they go to.
Yeah.
You don't really have that in like Maryland, period. Like they literally have football and basketball teams 6th, 7th grade for your school.
Yeah, we had a middle school team when but you can only play. You can only play when you was in. Well, you could play. You could only play in 8th grade. You can only play in 8th grade on our middle school teams. So, but yeah, we had one. I went to Deer Park.
Deer Park Middle
out there in Randallstown. Yeah.
Yeah. We got so many dogs today.
We had a nice. I think we went undefeated for we actually played Will, Josh. I think CJ was on the team
in the same middle school. They all went to the same
Loaded.
Middle
school? CJ who?
Loaded.
I know. I'm just this
loaded
people.
They were loaded.
So CJ
Tone
Barton,
Loaded.
CJ Fed, Tone,
Josh Elton.
This was before they kind of Will had his kind of name going, but Josh was kind of up and coming, and Tone was Will's younger brother, but they were loaded, and we went out there. Can't remember exactly what school it was. They were blue and yellow. It's out towards.
And it's this is 8th grade. Because you say you only play 8th grade, right?
I can't really remember if I played. Yeah, it was 8th grade. Because we were undefeated. It's only 8th grade
to play, right?
Yeah,
like you said.
But played for Coach Barnett, NFL agent right now. Well, agent in general, got a whole bunch of players under him. But yeah, and we went undefeated that year.
So to categorize middle school, did you think obviously I just kind of sped through it, but to categorize it, do you think that was kind of your introduction to the full scale of what the city basketball was about, or did you already know what it was?
It was definitely it was definitely when I first came out, when I was playing for Liberty in Mount Royal, that little mixture time.
Okay.
That middle school range is that middle school to early high school range would be where I would say I was not in the top tier of the players in the area.
Who you think was?
The same people.
The same
people. Man, Will probably hit a time frame like freshman and sophomore of high school.
No,
when he wasn't
yet.
No, I'm saying this is the only time. Okay. This is the only time when he wasn't in the area or close to the top dog in the area. That was probably the only time. But other than that, he was consistently one of those guys. And then Josh kind of just like took off.
Shout out,
yeah, that was amazing. his transition on, just taking off. But I mean, if I'm sitting here, we could do a whole show on talking about individual players who, was doing their thing at that time frame. But if I had to say,
just give me a handful, just give me a handful that stood out to you, because there's a lot of those players, but you being and knowing those who are who, you know what I mean? Who would you say that in middle school, right before high school, was some of the top players right before that?
That's tough for me to do. Honestly, it is. And I'm gonna say it's tough. I'm gonna say it's tough for me to do.
This. You still love them after this.
No. I'm gonna tell you.
Even if they see it, they're not gonna be mad.
I'm gonna tell you it's tough for me to do because I never, at any stage when I was playing basketball, ever felt anybody was better than me. That's just the kind of mentality that I felt like I had to. So
put yourself in it.
No, but what I'm saying is, you talk about other people. You talk about me mentioning other people. I can't. I would say Will. I would say Josh. George and his brother Justin always kind of ran bent low.
Oh,
George Justin Jackson.
Okay.
They kind of ran bent low. Then you got Heads came up out of bent low playing under them. He's younger. Devon Usher. Yeah, but he's younger than us. He kind of came up out of that. Another kid who kind of just took off, hit the ground, and just started running. Then you got Madison. You had Detroit Franklin. Larry played with Johnny. Chick Webb was always our kind of nemesis. You had Najee, you had Terrell, you had Alex, you had Gerard Shepard.
All these guys are in your class?
Either in my class or 1 year above, but I was so used to playing up.
Yeah, 1 year above. That's what I'm saying. 1 year above.
Chick Webb would always be the ones that kind of we would just struggle with. It was like a good day when we could beat Chick Webb.
Yeah.
They had a big fella, a big lefty named Jordan, big Alex, Tion Womack, Najee. They had them all. Isaiah Armwood, they had them all. And they stuck together all the way through. So while other teams was kind of splitting up and putting pieces here and there, they kind of, had that chemistry all the way through. Coach Gerald always had them, pretty much ticking. So they kind of stuck together. But it was those kind of areas. You got, like I said, Johnny, Madison, Bentlow, Mount Royal, and we never beat Mount Royal. We never beat Mount Royal. They just kind of came with a whole different aura about them that, confidence that either if you was going to win. No, Tay 2 years older. Yeah. But even before Tay came to play with Mount Royal, because he didn't come until he was older for the most part. He was out in Edge Rico area, in the county area. They were tough. Jeremy Robinson, Desmond Thomas, E. Bart. I can go on and on in terms of course, Malcolm. Malcolm played for, I think he played for Madison before he came over to Mount Royal. But I can go on and on about players that came out of Mount Royal and kind of at around my age and kind of set this tone. But that particular team was always a team that, I think they played together since 7 and under, and Corbett kept them guys together, and their chemistry, sophisticated plays and executing. So, but yeah, it was a whole lot of talent. But I really feel like for my age group, that talent was always good until high school. Mm-hmm. Then it was people separated themselves.
Exactly.
People separated themselves. Everybody in the area was good, and they just separated themselves.
Right.
This is your cream of the group, and everybody else is still good. But these are the ones that might have some money labeled to them. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I guess I would, describe it in terms of the time frame that you're talking about.
Right. So AAU-wise, I know you just spoke about a lot of guys, and it was kind of intertwined. We spoke in success in AAU teams, but the AAU, was it during that time, or was it early when you was in
Baltimore Stars?
Who was your first AAU team? Baltimore Stars?
Baltimore Stars. I was 7, playing 9 and under.
So yeah, okay. So the reason why I say this, and we always, when we're talking about before high school on purpose, who did you play with when you were playing AAU in your earliest time, in Baltimore Stars? Did you know any of your teammates and these guys?
Been pretty tough.
That's what I'm saying. To go.
That was when I was playing with Troy and Larry and I think Alex. He was always pretty much a Chick Webb guy, but a couple of older guys. Yeah, I was a Stars guy growing up. It was only 2. It was only 2 real options. It was Stars or Chick Webb.
That's why I asked.
And Cecil had a team, but their better teams were older. Their better teams were older.
Whooping our ass every year.
Their better teams was older. They didn't really have a legitimate team my age at that time.
Right. Okay, so you was a Stars.
Because the Stars kind of was like a combination of everything. The only one that kind of stuck to themselves and did their own thing at that age was Chigwell. They kind of just, we're gonna figure it out ourselves over here.
Word. Okay. So, and and I know you said your dad coached you a little bit. Did he coach you when you were playing with the Stars, or you had a different coach, or did he coach you all the way through?
No, he didn't coach. He was an assistant coach for the most part when I was with the Stars. Larry Bassfield coached me. Coach Dennis, rest in peace. Those are pretty much the Stars coaches that I had, and then we branched off when Melo kind of took off when he got to Syracuse. We kind of did our own. Well, first it was City's choice. That was our first.
Melo's choice. Yeah.
Melo's choice came at the
City. Burgundy did.
Yeah, that's when we was Melo's choice. Burgundy had the burgundy with the white little stripes on it. Yeah. But City's choice was before that, and that was pretty much a branch off between my father and Big Vinny. Kind of, became close and said, all right, let's do our own thing. And we kind of really did our own thing. And then that's when I guess we kind of made a name for ourselves in the area because we had one of the top players in the area, LaShawn Edwards. We always talked about him. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of the face of our program that allowed us to branch into, all right, well, Melo was like, all right, well, let's do Team Melo. And then Team Melo was a combination of us and Melo Orr.
Okay.
But yeah, Carmelo's choice was I would say probably that 10, 11, 12 age range in terms of like AAU and travel ball for us. And at that point in time, my father was coaching.
Now, when you're playing with those teams, you playing with like one of the top AAU teams in the country. Obviously, go around the country.
Nationals at that time.
Mm-hmm.
What were your kind of your fondest memories in nationals?
I mean, since you were young.
And did you come across anybody that was like crazy, that like a game that you remember that was crazy? Did you play somebody nice, or that y'all beat somebody that was crazy? Did you get off when you was out there? Like, did you get yours and that? I mean, how was that experience? Because people don't understand when you're playing with like a top AAU team in the country.
You're playing with some of the people you see on TV.
As a 9, 10, 11-year-old, you're traveling the country.
Yeah.
Like you're
all up and down the East Coast.
All up and down the East Coast, and then when you're going to Vegas for them joints, or you're going to Florida.
Vegas was usually
like you said, you're going to Florida for them joints.
Vegas was usually a decent time, so we never went to Vegas. But yeah, all up and down the East Coast.
Right. So kind of talk about that experience and some of the teams that you came across. If you remember anybody that was kind of stood out to you when you was playing during that time.
So
before high school.
If I'm talking about, just a dog fight every time, AAU basketball, it was always Team Maryland. And those guys.
It was nice back then, though. Yeah, they was, though.
That was the Upper Marlboro, PJ County.
Came through.
Yeah, that was always our, big game in terms of the area because they was, pretty much running their area. And at the time, we were top in our area. So nobody really came in terms of, pro-wise came from my age group that played for Team Maryland until we got older. Then they got, Quinn. And then, they had Victor, but he was younger at the time. So I think he actually played for DC Assault for a little bit. But in terms of Team Maryland, I guess that would be the other. I mean, we was always nationally ranked. It would be Team Maryland, us, Team Maryland, Chick Webb thrown in there. And I think it was 11 and under Cocoa Beach. They went to the championship nationals. This is, like you said, nationals and AAU at this time is big. It's big. They selling pamphlets. You know what I mean?
Our age bracket, it's like the 3-4 years before us, 3 years before us, DP and them, and then down through y'all. That's when AAU was super big.
Yeah, booming.
Crazy. AAU was ridiculous.
Yeah, he was on a pamphlet.
Yeah, he was on a cover.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He was on a cover of that joint.
It's crazy.
But no, but did you remember any going out of town? Because I said, you guys go to Peach Jam and stuff. And
that was probably closer towards high school. Definitely.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
Yeah,
So
that was definitely high school.
All right, so
middle school, pretty much it was, tournaments up and down the East Coast,
right.
AAU nationals. That was the biggest thing. You play in the states.
Yeah,
you play in the states. States would go nationals. We would always come in either first or second.
Y'all states was up Lake Clifton like ours was?
Lake, Morgan.
Yup, championship game up Morgan.
Yeah, they would have it anywhere. A lot of local gyms, BCCC for a while. But yeah, that was pretty much AAU basketball. The time frame of AAU basketball when it was the politics wasn't into it just yet, so it was just competition. Complete competition. Every tournament, every game. You would have a favorite team, but one team might come in there and shock you. Yeah. They might come in there and shock you if you're not playing, and everybody wanted to be a part of it at that time frame. So, it was definitely. I would say that was the peak of it in a sense.
All right. Okay. So, middle school. You kind of know the game and all that stuff. Who are your favorite players? Who are kind of your favorite players, like professionally?
Middle school?
Yeah, middle school.
I was a Lakers guy.
Lakers dude.
So Kobe was my favorite.
Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm. I was a Lakers guy. I didn't like a team other than the Lakers. And it just so happened that I guess Kobe played there his whole career.
Is there any particular reason why you're a Lakers fan?
When I was growing up, of course they were winning. So, and then my mother's from California. So
you got California.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't hard for me to adopt that team. I mean, of course, you all jumping out the gate, you want to be Jordan. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But then after he retired, it was like, all right, which way you gonna go? And mine was pretty much a Lakers team, and Kobe was my guy. So I would say that would be my team.
Cold,
Bean.
Recipes,
Bean, yo, Bean. And Mamba Vino.
So listen. All right, man. Middle school. So it sounds like and I always like to ask that question because us, me and I say us, me and Trey, we was around, so we kind of seen it. You know what I mean? And even though you a year younger than me, 2 years younger than me, I don't know what it is. It's really old for real, but
been old, yeah.
Yeah, so we seen all of this. We kind of was watching from afar, being from where we from. So I always like to. That's what I'm saying. 17 out of the not yet though. Not yet.
Trey trying to get to it, yo.
That's not yet.
Trey's trying to get to it.
At this point, we still it's still early. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's very early. And we looking at this landscape of Baltimore basketball, and Trey is, and to be honest with you, because Trey knew KP, so he and his cousins, they was in the spectrum of Baltimore basketball. For me, I ain't know nothing but down road.
Down road.
That's it.
Talking my sister and my uncle and coached up at Rico. My sister played up there back in the day. So I used to be up there.
It was in the county. It was Ed Rico and LRW. Those are the two. Those are kind of the two programs. They kind of stay separate, but
I was a little stuck running around at Rico basketball. They were shooting basketball.
Yeah,
when I was a kid. You know?
Ed Rico
my dad and my uncle coached girls teams up there. But my sister was older than me. So.
Yeah, Ed Rico had that little run for sure.
Being somebody that's from down
there. They had a league that was over at Old Court.
But
and then we had our league at Deer Park for real.
What's so crazy is I said my uncle.
You always got yours, but you tell it, nigga.
My uncle coached up that joint. His youngest daughter wound up starting 3 years down there at Ole Miss. You know what I'm saying?
For Edrigo?
Yeah, she played. Yeah. I mean, that's where it came down. The older sister she played, but the younger sister wound up being.
There was some talent out of Edrigo.
She wound up She was up PO. That's when we went on. Then she went up.
Big Bussy.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she played. My cousin was the guy.
Yeah, Big Bussy.
Yeah, crazy. Age of my cousin thinks she was a freshman or sophomore.
It's crazy, yo. So. The spectrum of that, being in the spectrum of that in Baltimore basketball is kind of different for me. So I always like to hear just a perspective from the person that was there and somebody that was definitely in the mix of everything.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, definitely. Baltimore basketball at that time, like I said, you got Project Survival, you got BNBL. The local basketball was more competitive sometimes than you would go out and see anywhere else.
Go out and be whipping people because they're not even local town.
There was nothing out there that could. It was like I said, nationally, it was 3 or 4 teams that consistently was in that top 5, and then we were always one of them. Baltimore Stars was always one of them.
Okay, so coming in the 9th grade, you say you were going to Deer Park at the time?
Yeah, I was at Deer Park Middle.
All right, so did you, because of playing AAU, did you wind up having like a choice of schools, or did you think that you were going to one of the public schools locally, or how did that process work with you?
I was just talking to Nick about that. I was literally in the car this weekend. My high school decision really was spontaneous. Like, I really didn't look at one and like, I want to go there, I want to go here, I want to go there. It kind of just was like, that's the one that I went to. My father wanted me to look into Poly. Of course, he went to Poly. So I went on a visit there, did a little shadow day there. That was cool. I actually, kind of liked it. Thought that might be an option. Then at the time, like I said, I was living in Randallstown. So got Randallstown High, Owens Mills High, things of that sort. But I never kind of gravitated towards those schools. Playing for Coach Barnett in middle school, and at the time, the thing was go Catholic school. Go play in the BCL MIA. That's what the looks are going to do. So Barnett kind of steered us in the way of trying to get to, private schools that, could showcase your talents and you be able to get a good little education and do things from there. So I ended up going to TC. My father was kind of cool with Mike Daniels and Biggers.
TC is Towson Catholic for people that don't know.
Yep, Towson Catholic. RIP. So that was where I ended up 9th grade year.
Was there any other choice? Like, was it any other choice? Like, you went to visit the Poly, but you didn't really feel it. But other than that,
I didn't even go. I don't think I went on I can't recall, but I really don't think I went on a visit to TC. I just think I knew players that was already at TC. And like I said, my father knew the coaches at the time, so it was kind of like a mutual thing. Plus, Newtown was being built at the time. Like I said, I was out in Randallstown. Newtown was being built, so that's a new high school that's kind of getting some, wave to it. And what actually happened is the coaches that I was going to TC to play for didn't end up being at TC when I got there. They was at Newtown. Yeah, they got them out of there. And but like I said, it wasn't a thing where I felt like, oh, I got to go to this high school, go to that high school. That's just kind of where I ended up, and that's kind of where I stayed after I got there. So it was definitely, TC was, the home for the next 4 years.